It's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today for another Simple Stamping Saturday. So, Saturday, Simple Stamping, going 3 projects, basically 1 design, going from a quick and simple card through something for a more casual crafter and on to someone who is a bit more of an avid crafter and has more techniques and products. I am going to be focusing for the next few months on items that are part of the Sale-a-Bration offering. Remember that for every £45 you spend in my online store, link below, you get to choose something from the Sale-a-Bration catalogue. If you spend £90, you can choose a level 2 item. So this would be a level 1 item. And it's gorgeous, by the way. The gangs all mirror I've used already. This would be a level 2 because it's the dies that go with the stamp set, the lovely lily pad. So to get both of these, you would need to spend £135. She says, doing mental arithmetic. There's also some designer series paper. There's twine and sequins. There's this set, which is what I'm going to be using today, the Happy Birthday to You kerchief card kit, some more designer series paper, stamp set, a punch, which is a level 2. This is a bundle, so you get an embossing folder and a stamp set, so that's a level 2 item. And then if you place an order or get together with some friends and place a larger order, so if your order is at least £275, you not only get your usual stamping rewards, which at that level would be 12%, you also get this stamp set free, and it is gorgeous. Again, I've used this already. And of course we have the fantastic joining offer. Details of the joining offer are on my website. This is available to anyone for me if you wish to join my Sparkling Sunflowers. Then if you're in the UK, France, Germany, the Netherlands or Austria, you are able to join my team. So let's get on with today. And we're looking at the Happy Birthday to You stamp set, which is on page 8. It is gorgeous. There are some examples here of how you could use it. So a card with some more embellishment, and also just picking out the flowers on one of our mini pizza boxes. So lots of ideas there. My simple version is, as it says, just simple stamping and some colouring. I've used the Happy Birthday stamp on the front, and then I've stamped on the inside and just coloured that in quickly as well. And again, as ever, I have stamped on the outside of the envelope. Let me show you the full pack. So there's Happy Birthday to You, Celebrate, the large image, and this little sort of splatter. So lots you can do with it. But let me show you how I've done this one. So I'm going to start with one of our Whisper White note cards and the watercolour pencil selection, the first selection. These are in the annual catalogue. You get all sorts of colours in there. I'm not going to specifically go through them. But the first thing I want to do is to stamp. So I've got my Memento ink pad, and I'm just going to ink up my stamp very quickly and stamp that down. Now I want to come up a bit because we want to get the Happy Birthday in as well. And I want that to be as straight as possible. Should probably have put it on the block straight. That might have been simpler. So that's my Happy Birthday. I will keep that out and use that again in a moment because we've got to do the inside and the envelope. And then just ink up the Happy Birthday and stamp that again, ideally straight. Although because it's a script, it's not vital that it's ping on straight. Then I'm going to flip that over, bring in a piece of scrap paper, bring back my large stamp, just ink up the corner, and I'm just going to pick out that single flower, and I'm trying to not get the cake on the card. So that's that inked up. Let me grab the envelope And I'm going to repeat the same process. So just ink that up a little and stamp in the corner. Now you could colour that if you wanted to. I've selected not to because I'm colouring lots of other things, but you could if you wished to colour that too. Okay, now I've not done a brilliant job of stamping, but it doesn't matter. The colours I'm going to be using are Melon Mambo, Daffodil Delight, Old Olive, Smoky Slate and Black. As I say, there are lots of colours to choose from. I've got a blender pen. They come in a pack of 3. They're not expensive. I think they're quite a good addition. If you're going to get the watercolour pencils, I think they're a very good addition to your stash. And then all I'm going to do is, I'm going to bring in my reference point. I'm just going to add colour kind of where I think it should be. Now this does take a wee bit of time. I'm not going to spend too long on it because I do want to show you the other examples that I've made. But obviously you could, in the privacy of your own home, spend a bit more time on your colouring. But as I say, it doesn't take a huge length of time. And all I'm doing, I'm concentrating the colour on the inside of the flowers. And I really am just kind of scribbling, and then if there's a shadow, then I'm going to pick that up, or where there would be a shadow, I'm going to pick that up so that it's obvious where one petal ends and another begins. As I say, I've not done a brilliant job of stamping, but it's okay. And once we've added some colour, it'll be better than okay. Now what you can do if you're really worried that you've not done a good job of stamping is you can get either the single basic black pen or the journaling pens, which come in a pack of 2, and you get a narrow and a fatter one. And you could just use those to add in. I'll show you that at the end. And as I say, I'm just adding colour where I think there should be colour. Then Old Olive on all of the leaves. And I'm not colouring them fully. I'm just adding colour to where I think there should be colour. Because with the blender pen, we're going to be able to move some of this colour around. So you don't necessarily want it absolutely solid, because otherwise it can look a bit almost flat. But yeah. So I hope you are enjoying the first days of our new catalogues. Remember, we do have, this is the Daffodil Delight, we do have the Spring Summer or January to June mini catalogue as well. So lots to choose from. With the cake stand, I'm just going to add some black where I think there's going to be a heavier shadow. And then I'll add Smoky Slate over the top. So I'm imagining my lights coming in from this side. I'm not even going to bother colouring in the cake itself. Just going to do the cake stand. So that's probably going to have quite a lot of shadow. And then this basic grey, not Smoky Slate, what am I talking about? Basic grey, it's just I used Smoky Slate on something else. So colour that in. I am adding a reasonable amount of colour there, and also on the actual plate itself. But yeah, there are so many wonderful things in the new catalogue. I'm having to be really good and limit myself. Not succeeding terribly well, I would hasten to add. Okay, so I'm going to check my pen. My blender pen is clean. I always check that my blender pen is clean before I start. And then all I'm going to do is move the watercolour pencil around. Try not to do too much in one place, because if you do, you can end up damaging the card. It will pill, so it will go all fluffy like your jumpers. So the idea is to just move it around, but not spend too long in one place. And if you want to then go back and move it again, just wait until the card has dried before you go back in. And that way you'll reduce the risk of ruining your card. Because fuzzy card is not a good idea. You do need to make sure that your Memento ink is fully dry before you do this, otherwise you could end up smudging the ink. Although it is a waterproof ink, it's only waterproof whilst it's dry. So if it's not dry when you go over it with your blender pen, you could end up with a nice black splodge, which is not really what we want on our flowers. So as you can see, it's really easy. Just move the watercolour around. There's a lot of pigment in our watercolour pencils, so you know there's plenty to move. If you find that there's an area that you wanted to have more colour, so say I wanted more colour on the berries, I can just pick up with my blender pen and just add more if that's what I want, which I think on the berries actually is quite nice to have a bit more colour nearer the base. And then scribble off, and if you want to blend it a bit more you can scribble off again before I move on to the next colour, which will be my Old Olive. And again, all I'm doing is moving that colour around. It's a watercolour effect that you're looking for, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. It doesn't have to be the same intensity of colour on the whole of the leaf or whatever it is you're colouring in. In fact, if it's not the same intensity, that is best. And then you get some instant shading. So that's that. And let's do the yellow. And then just the plate and the stand itself. And as if by magic, the shadows sort of just happen and you lose the hard line that we started with. And then a very good clean off before we finish. And then we need to do the inside of the card. And again, I'm just going to pick up my Melon Mambo add it where I want some colour. And this really is a scribble. You can see it's a real scribble. At least I think you can you see I've really just scribbled. And then again with the green Old Olive, just add where there is a need for colour. And then finally Daffodil Delight. And then again I check my pen, even though I know I've just cleaned it off. I'm just checking that it is actually clean. Now if I'd have gone from the yellow to the green, it wouldn't have been desperate. Green to Melon Mambo, not so good. And even though I really scribbled, you can see that it's all blending out without those harsh scribble lines. So there we go. So that's the inside without the scribble. And then let's just fold our card and get the corners to line up. Always a plan. And then bone folder. So there are our 2 cards and our 2 stamped envelopes. Now, I did say I would show you what I meant by coming in with, this is the fine journaling pen. So I've here, I can just come in with my, if it would like to work, of course. There we go. Come in with my fine journaling pen and just reinforce those stamped lines that were a bit dubious, shall we say. And you can just continue round as you wish. So not a disaster if you don't stamp fully. Right, so that is my quick and easy card, and as you can see it's just literally scribbling. Let's pop these away for the moment and pop my blender pen in as well. I always like to keep my blender pen with my pencils, then I know I've got it. So quick and easy. This is my casual crafter version, so I've stamped the image 3 times, once on a mat and then on a couple of pieces of just scraps of Whisper White. I've coloured with blends this time, and the blends that I've used, we don't do a Melon Mambo blend, so I've used Flirty Flamingo, Daffodil Delight, Smoky Slate, which is where I got my Smoky Slate from, Old Olive, and I have used the colour lifter because that way I can get a much softer edge to some of the colouring. So that's my casual. Now you may be surprised when I bring in my Avid. This is my Avid, so it's actually much nearer the simple version, but this is actually heat embossed, and then I've used a couple of things, well 3, for the colouring. I've mirrored the To You, and for these I've then put the Happy Birthday on the inside, and I haven't coloured, mostly because if I colour this with blends it'll bleed through to the back. So this is heat embossed with the shimmer white embossing powder. I've used, where is it? I've used Wink of Stella for the cake, which I also used on this one to get, and on the cake stand for this, so that's why that shimmers, which hopefully you can see. I think you can pick it up there. And then here, that should be picking it up, yeah. I've used shimmer there, and then I've coloured in using a combination of the white pencil and the chalk marker. So let me just grab a piece of scrap. So let's turn it over. So the Whisper White pencil looks like that. The marker, kind of, you know, you need to make sure you've got the right bit going, and I find that you do need to turn it round. But here's the thing, here's another blender pen. If I blend my Whisper White so it becomes softer, and then add chalk marker over the top, you get a much whiter finish with your chalk marker because the watercolour pencil kind of seals. So that's what I've done here. I've used the pencil for the darker colour, and then I've come in with the chalk marker in the centre to pick out the colour, the bits where I want it to be a whiter white. Now these two I've done with the whiter in the middle, and this one I've done with the whiter more on the edges. And then I've used one of the Noble Peacock rhinestones in the middle of each of those flowers. So that's my Avid version. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Do have a look at watercolour pencils. Please don't think that they are only for, you know, children or basic stuff. They really are great for all sorts of techniques. So watercolour pencils and chalk marker and blends, and then Wink of Stella. And this is using the classic label punch, and then just tagging the end. and are now retired, unfortunately, 1/8 hole punch. And then again, I've stamped on the inside, this time in Melon Mambo to match. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you found that helpful, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Do remember that if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe and would like to, it's in the bottom right hand corner. Now it's this time. Bye!